Hi, Amy Elizabeth, somatic and intuitive healer here.
And I'm Kate. I like to ask a lot of questions and get a little clarity on what Amy's up to.
So, I wanted to touch base because on January 20th, Pluto moved into Aquarius. The age of Aquarius doesn't start till 2160 people. So, when I talk about Aquarian activation, I am honing in on Pluto on the 0 degree of Aquarius, that Mercury has already touched on that degree. On the 13th, Mars is going to zoom in. On the 16th, Venus is going to zoom in. And for those of you that are keeping track, when we did our Aquarian dark moon, I believe I mentioned the Jupiter Saturn conjunction that took place. I said 2021. It was not 2021. It was 2020.
No.
It was December 21 of 2020. So it was on the winter solstice.
Okay.
Why this all feels like it matters. And what does it have to do with me wanting to really clarify that the age of Aquarius isn't going to actually be fully birthed until 2160.
Okay. And why do people say that we're already in it?
Because people have been talking age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius, age of Aquarius, and anytime anything major happens with the sign of Aquarius, they want to be like, age of Aquarius. You think about the 60s. That was a Pluto-Uranus conjunction.
Okay.
And the birth of an astrological age, because they're so long, they're 2,160 years long. When you've got something that lives that long, it takes a long time to birth it.
Okay.
It's about a 200-year birthing process.
Okay.
So understanding that we started early labor, and I'm going to talk about this as if it is labor. We started early labor, which if you compare that to what it takes to birth a human child, early labor is any level of effacement, which is the thinning of the cervix, and 0 to 4 centimeters.
Okay.
So the cervix opens 0 to 4 centimeters and any level of effacement. The cervix needs to thin out to be flexible enough and soft enough to go through the birthing process of something emerging. So we had our first, I might be having a baby contraction back in the 1960s when we had the Pluto-Uranus conjunction. For those of you that have been in Women's Circle with me last month and this month, the month of February, we've been working with Pluto. We've been looking at the ways that embodied transformation, 2 words that get thrown around a lot in the wellness community right now, that get thrown around a lot in the self-development community, get misused and misrepresented on the reg. Embodiment is the process of working to form a neural pathway that is so well developed that we don't have to think. We don't have to slow ourselves down. We don't have to stop. We don't have to be like, this way or that way. We just go. It's something that lives in us. And we may do embodiment processes. And as long as we need to slow ourselves down and be like, oh, okay, I know that is my pattern. That is the way I go. Is that the way I want to go? Or do I want to, even if you're so far down that track, you can stop yourself at any point and redirect. Embodiment is not even, like that path doesn't even exist anymore. And transformation is when we've actually made a change. And transformation takes time. The transformation of a human being takes far longer than, say, the transformation and the metamorphosis of a caterpillar into a butterfly.
Sure.
We've watched that happen from the time we've had caterpillars emerge from an egg to the point where we release the butterfly in the world.
Right.
It takes weeks. Why do we think that we as humans would just magically make it happen.
Mm.
So Pluto is the great transformer.
Okay.
He is an evolutionary archetype. That is a piece of his archetypal energy.
Mhm.
And if we go back, the 0 degrees of Aquarius is important because it's this activation energy.
Okay.
Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius. He was in briefly in 2023 for like 3 months. It was like a coming soon preview.
Okay.
He hasn't really settled in Aquarius since 1777.
Okay. It's been a while then. Okay.
Hot minute.
Mm.
And what happened in the 1770s?
Little revolution action.
In a few spaces. We had an American Revolution, there was a French Revolution, and there was an Industrial Revolution. So Aquarius is this humanitarian energy. And I use humanitarian lightly because people get confused in thinking what is best for humans
Mhm.
is what is humanitarian. When I say humanitarian, I mean all of life.
Okay.
Because what is good for us humans is to have a healthy planet,
Mhm.
to have a mycelium network that functions because we're not poisoning the soil, to have safe, healthy waterways because we're not poisoning our air and our water, to be able to go outside without air quality alerts. That is real humanitarianism to me, when we recognize that no snow and 50 degrees in January in Minnesota for weeks on end is really honestly a bad plan. I know it's really convenient for humans to not be sliding around on the roads. It's not convenient for humans because it shows that we've made bad decisions and things are not going well. So Aquarius is this big humanitarian energy.
Okay.
And for those that have been hanging with me for a while, I will say, think galactically, act locally. Recognize how the things that we do have a much huger impact. And Jupiter,
Makes things bigger.
Saturn.
Has rings. I can't remember what it does.
Well, what do those rings do?
They hug the planet.
Well, they have boundaries,
They
right?
have boundaries.
And we have a concept of what boundaries are.
Mm-hmm.
Do our common cultural concept, we'll call it, about boundaries is that they hold things out.
Yes.
And I'm going to set up a boundary that is about holding you out.
Okay.
When we look at Saturn, Saturn's rings hold him in.
Okay.
A healthy boundary is what holds us in.
All right.
Not what keeps others out. And yes, sometimes the things that hold us in involve keeping others out. And when our primary driver is how do I hold myself, that means we're taking authority over our own lives because Saturn is also authority.
Okay.
When we look at the planets, we've got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth. Hey, everybody. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So, Jupiter expands things.
Mhm.
Jupiter expands things in a realistic way.
Okay.
Because Saturn is reality. And Saturn is out there like, I don't think so. You're not going past this point.
Okay.
So these are our personal planets. And Jupiter and Saturn conjuncting on the winter solstice in 2020, when the world seemed to have gone crazy and everybody is still socially, emotionally, and mentally recovering from it, some more successfully than others, activated the 0 Aquarian point.
Okay.
And I right now do not know, and I cannot say how we are going to watch it play out.
Okay.
I feel really confident, in my bones confident, that we are going to step back in 5 to 10 years and look at these pieces and be like, we couldn't have predicted how much change we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
on on all of the spectrums.
So,
From our inner worlds to the outer world, there's going to be so much incredible change. And so it feels really important to first recognize that Pluto is now sitting at the 0 degree.
okay.
And Mercury showed up on February 5th.
Mhm.
So the messenger came in. Mercury is quicksilver. Mercury is flying by, and if you are not tuned into Mercury, you're not going to get the messages. He is moving so fast. And well, collectively, we're like, Mercury retrograde, which, come on, people, 3 to 4 times a year, just pay more attention, be more detail oriented. Mercury will be really happy if you do those things. And I know for people who work in communications,
Oh, it messes with our stuff every time. You have technical issues, you have communication issues.
and if we slowed down and paid attention to when those things happened, and then took proactive steps, they would be less likely to be problematic the next time.
That's probably true day to day.
It is true today. It's true in all things.
Yeah.
Slow down. So Quicksilver Mercury touched in with big evolutionary, deeply rooted transformation friend Pluto at the 0 degrees of Aquarius, kicking off something. And yes, Pluto and Mercury, they hang out for a couple hours or multiple times every single year because of how fast Mercury moves.
Do they play nice together? Are they friends or foes or
Mercury and Pluto
strangers?
Mercury and Pluto and Aquarius really felt like saying the quiet parts out loud. Why?
Well, I mean, things don't usually go well when you say the quiet parts out loud.
Well, and why is that?
Because it's quiet for a reason. You're not supposed to say it.
Well, and if we wander around going with well, I'm not supposed to say that, does anything change?
Yes. And not always in a good way.
Do things get healed if we continue to push them under the rug and not say the quiet parts out loud?
Yeah, I don't know that always people are interested in healing when they do that. I think they're often interested in fanning the flames of what happens when one does that.
And I'm a big believer in saying the quiet parts out loud. So here we bring to you 2 varying viewpoints on saying the quiet parts out loud. Because people don't know that there is a problem if we don't say it. So that's what this Mercury-Pluto conjunction, this particular one, felt like to me, saying the quiet parts out loud.
Okay.
And saying the quiet parts. Aquarian in its shadow is hive mind. And hive mind is about keeping everything hidden.
Okay.
To be able to control, to be able to have authority, Saturn, over the masses.
Okay.
And that is why it feels so important to me to really touch on this. Where did you hear the quiet part said out loud the first week of February? I mean, Pluto, Mercury's gone about his business. He is at high speed. He's got like 11 more days here in Aquarius before he zips on into Pisces. And recognizing that saying the quiet parts out loud doesn't necessarily fix it immediately. It does, though. It brings a consciousness to it.
Okay.
So people can then choose. People can make a conscious choice as to whether or not they're going to evolve.
Okay.
Pluto's evolution. And change takes time, which brings us to our friend Mars.
Okay.
Mars started that new cycle back in Scorpio on November 17th.
And I know he likes it there.
Oh, Mars is in his rulership. Yeah. So Mars is like in his power place because the energy of Mars in Scorpio, and this is the energy he's bringing to everything he touches for the next 24 to 26 and a half months. And I'm going to keep harping on this, is the redistribution of energy via transformation.
Okay.
He is in there to move things, to shake things up,
Mhm.
to rattle the cages, because he wants to redistribute the energies
Okay.
in service of transformation.
Okay.
So while Mars and Pluto are two gods of war coming together, and we look at them, a conjunction is a harmonic aspect.
Mhm.
It is a, hey, we're going to work together.
Yeah.
So it's not like a Mars-Pluto square,
No.
which we happen to have seen some wars start with Mars-Pluto squares. It's not a Mars-Pluto opposition. Those are both hard aspects.
I think they're together. They're probably having drinks together,
You-
sharing experiences.
Having some drinks.
Yes, they're
Well,
at the enlisted or officer club. I'm not probably officer.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right on
Mhm,
this.
yeah.
And Pluto has more experience. Pluto is definitely the senior ranking officer.
Okay, mhm.
Because Pluto has more stamina.
Okay.
Pluto's got the staying power, and he's less of a hothead
Okay.
than Mars is.
Mars is the younger officer.
Pluto.
Yes.
More stamina, more hothead.
Yes, hothead.
At least we all own
Yeah.
all of the things. So Mars is moving from this scorpionic energy place.
Mhm.
And 0 degrees of Aquarius is holding a meeting of the two rulers of Scorpio.
Mhm.
And Mars is like, so this is what my plan is.
Mhm.
I know that we've talked about this already because we met up a couple of years ago. We had a chat about this back when you were in Capricorn, and you agreed that you felt like we're onto something here.
Okay.
Are we still holding the course? Are we still going to move through the next 24 to 26 and a half months of shaking everything up to redistribute the energy to create transformation?
Okay.
And it's going to be a lot of shaking up and exposure of shadow.
Okay.
Exposure of distortion, exposure of how people, governments, corporations, religious organizations, countries, of how structure, Saturn, 0 degrees of Aquarius, see how this is all coming back, aren't being expansive enough, aren't moving into globalism in a really shamanic way. That if we harm the earth, if we decide that grass is really important, that monoculture, and we're going to put a bunch of fertilizer on there, there's a reason we have dead soil with 0 organic, well, 3% organic matter. Because we haven't taken the mycelium network into account. We haven't taken the water, the water table into account. We haven't taken the air and our little animals. So Mars and Pluto are coming together. They're at the officers club.
Well, it sounds like it's transitioned into a strategy meeting now.
Okay.
So there's probably some PowerPoint.
Okay, there's a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So there's a PowerPoint. This one knows.
Knife hands. So
There's a PowerPoint taking place.
but at least it sounds like they're comparing notes
on
and
the
they're
same page.
a positive interaction.
They're on the same page. And Pluto is saying, yes, go forth. Dig up everybody's shadow. Dig up everybody's shit. Make sure they're looking at it and get this barracks cleaned up.
They're
Oh, okay. They got better things to do.
There'll be other people to do that.
Okay. Okay. So a few days later on the 16th, Venus shows up to have her meeting with Pluto. So that means that all 5 of the personal planets as of February 16th will have come to the 0 degrees of Aquarius.
To have
This
their PowerPoint meeting. with
activation
Pluto.
point. Well,
No.
Jupiter and Saturn did theirs back in 2021.
Okay.
They did theirs together.
Okay.
The expansion of structures, the abundance that is possible when we reconstruct and we build containers that hold everybody with grace. And now our really super personal planets, our communicator, our self-esteem, our action towards those things, now they're in meetings with Pluto.
Okay.
And so Venus started a cycle in Leo this past summer when she was busy doing her retrograde dance. And Leo is about our soul expression, the way that we can show up from a place of grounded self-esteem. And grounded self-esteem means we're not manipulating, managing, working for anything other than how do I hold myself in integrity? So Leo is bringing that to her meeting with Pluto.
Okay.
Now, I don't know that I see these two in a PowerPoint necessarily.
When you say Leo, do you mean Venus? Or do you mean
I'm sorry, Venus. Yes, I mean Venus. So they are meeting in Aquarius. They're doing their thing. They're talking about stuff. And Pluto is interested in the evolution of our souls. That is really what Pluto is always looking at, is the evolution of our souls. Because, of course, his mate, Persephone, is about working to get us rebirthed. Because you can't have death without birth, and you can't have birth without death. Everything that's alive dies. That is natural and normal. So those are some big pieces, followed by, for those of you that listen to our talk on the Aquarian dark moon, Mars and Venus were already moving into conjunction with Pluto. So they've been conjunction. This February 13th, this February 16th are the dates of their exactitude. Now, Mars and Venus are going to also come together. They're going to have a little meeting on February 20th. And they start their meeting at 5 degrees of Aquarius, which is still in an orb conjunction with Pluto. So Mars does his meeting, Venus does her meeting, and then Pluto sends them on their way. And Mars and Venus get together and have a meeting. Now, Mars and Venus are the archetypal power couple. They are the masculine and the feminine energy coming together in wholeness. The way that a dark moon is the masculine and the energy, the masculine and the feminine energy coming together in wholeness. Clarity, clarity, clarity. When I say masculine, I don't mean dudes. I don't mean male bodies.
What do you mean, Amy?
I mean our masculine energy that keeps us focused, that allows us
energy
to hold big space, which is an interesting thing. The doing, there is activation in masculine energy, and masculine energy is often about the ability to just hold and be still. We've attributed go energy, active, do the things all over with boys will be boys. And what that is that's distorted feminine energy. Feminine energy is creation. And the go to do it, the masculine energy holds the space. And while it may help activate us in a focus on this way, it isn't necessarily the active life principle. It's a part of the active life principle because you need both of these energies to come together to create something that's whole. So it's not about we need a dude and we need a gal. It's not about gender. This is an energetic thread. So these two are going to come together and they're going to travel together between the 5th and 8th degree of Aquarius until February 23rd. So they've got the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. They've got 4 solid days. This is a big meeting.
A lot of PowerPoints.
A lot of PowerPoints, a lot of discussions, a lot of fancy dinners, because this is Venus we're talking about. She's going to want things nice, and she is going to let Mars know, I'm going to go ahead, because this is the point in which Venus surpasses Mars in the zodiac. She is going to go ahead and she is going to move through the zodiac ahead of him, kind of preparing and laying down things. And she's going to be sending memos back. She's going to be sending some emails back, maybe some text messages, some voice memos, letting Mars know, okay, like this point has been activated. I've checked in with what the soul expression here is most aligned to be. When you get up, if you could push these buttons, that'd be great. So I'm very excited about all of this activation of Aquarian energy. And I want to just be really, really open and very, very clear that I am not saying how it is going to show up, because it is so big.
Mhm.
And Aquarius is about innovation. It's about future oriented, like open minded thinking.
Mhm.
And because that is what Aquarian energy is about,
Mhm.
I just want to stay really open minded and really curious. I want to really make sure that I am using these energies around communication, my actions, my soul expression
Mhm.
to be setting up an expansive structure as we move into this next 20-year cycle with Pluto and Aquarius.
Okay.
Did you get it all?
I think so.
Okay. So subscribe, like us, share us with your friends, drop us some questions if you have questions. We love to hear from you. Thanks so much.